So, welcome back to the 1760 sessions where we talk to founders, building systems, and impact. As always, I'm Harry Thornberry, and today I'm joined by the fantastic Eric Bosniak. Apologies, nearly screwed that up. A four times author, 36-year business veteran, and founder of Eric Bosniak Coach. Eric spent 3 decades in insurance and corporate America, holding VP roles at Fortune 50 firms like MetLife, Anthem, and
Correct.
AIG, I believe. Awesome. Before pivoting to coaching professionals through what he calls intentional redesign, helping people rediscover their passion and purpose when they feel stuck. Eric, thank you
Fantastic.
very much for
Thanks
being
for
here.
having me. Looking forward to our discussion.
Yes, so am I. Just so everyone knows, Eric and I had a pre-discussion before this, and I've learned some fantastic things which we're going to dive into today. And starting off with, you told me something in our first conversation that really stuck with me. You said you felt like you were on the outside looking in most of your career, even when you were successful. So can we talk a bit how
Yeah,
that felt at
absolutely.
that time?
So this has been an overall sort of essence or feeling of mine. I can take it back to my childhood where I always felt separated from the group, even though I was in the group, maybe participating in the group, that I was having two conversations, one with the people around me, and then one sort of inside my head concurrently, that I was always seeking and looking for something different, feeling that I was displaced or
Yeah.
misplaced, or what is it that I am called to do or meant to be? And obviously in my youth, I didn't know what that meant. It was just a feeling. And as time moved on, I started to really pay attention to that secondary conversation. And that led me to really start changing the way I approach relationships, the way I approach business, that I wanted to make sure anything I did was serving, not so much me selfishly, but serving what I felt I was called to do, whether that was in the moment or that year or that season, but that I wasn't wasting my time on frivolous things, and that I wanted to really
Yeah.
contribute to people's lives to help them, discover their passion, discover their purpose. Well before I started really fleshing this out into some of my writing, some of my books. And so that's just kind of a feeling I've had. I even still have it to this day. But it serves me well because I think I really understand it and how to work with it.
So it's like a voice inside you that's potentially pushing you to help guide other people. Um, and I think we spoke about last time that there's a bit of an issue in the corporate world at the moment where I think you can be growing up in the UK, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in the US, corporate America. Essentially, you look at your parents, they went to maybe a college, maybe a university, then went into the working world. And I feel like there's more now more than ever. You look at that lifestyle, and a lot of people don't want it. And some people are stuck in it and realizing that this isn't really for them. Are you coaching
I
those types
I
of
I
people as well?
am, absolutely. It's interesting, Harry. I watched a TED Talk yesterday as part of a mentoring group that I participate in, and I'm a mentor in it. And the video was
Yeah.
actually two young ladies from Great Britain that were talking. Their TED Talk was about the squiggly career, and where people of my parents' generation and a lot of people in my generation were on this linear path, going from staying within their vertical, maybe
Yeah.
with that same company for 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And how today it's so um, different in that we are not so much that I'm looking for the next shiny thing, but that the way we become this global environment, the way technology has really shifted the way that we go about serving our communities, doing business, and that opportunities within companies begin to either shut down because of merger acquisition. And so we have to be open to that shift and that change and not locked into maybe what our parents told us, "This is how you do it." You know, go to school, you
Yeah.
know, start your career, get in a relationship, have a family, and then you kinda hang out to the very end. And, not so much by design, but that's really I thought I was going in that direction. When I was with some of these big companies like a New York Life or a MetLife, I'm like, "This is it. This is where I'm gonna hang my hat for the rest of my career. I love this company. I love what I do." But things happen: merger, acquisition, downsizing, change management and leadership, and you find yourself on the outside. I've got to go find and do something different, and I've got to level up my skills so that I can be, relevant in the marketplace.
Competitive. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think about just the younger generation who a lot of people are learning from, specifically Gen Z. These guys are out there making money outside of the corporate world, making money through the internet. And I think there's a lot of people with a lot of experience now leaning into that, thinking, right, we don't need to actually work our corporate jobs anymore. There's other roles to be had. There's other ways to make money. And I think fundamentally, people are realizing they're much happier when they're potentially working for themselves or working through a business which is their own creation rather than working for someone else's
I
dream, I
couldn't
like to
agree
call it.
more. I encourage my kids. I'm blessed with 5 kids. 2 went to college, and they're doing wonderfully.
Yeah.
And then 3, decided that they're gonna go a different route, and they're super happy and successful, and he's still young and building and growing and experimenting in what they wanna do and who they wanna be, and what a great age to be in the world today to be able to actually do that with confidence.
Yeah, I agree. So one thing I wanted to dive into is you brought up last time that you had a breakfast meeting scheduled at Windows or on the night on September the 11th, 2001. We all know what happened that day. What happened that morning, and how did that shape
So,
everything that came after?
this was a incredible experience in that I woke up in the wee hours of the morning, 4 AM, thereabouts, and
Yeah.
just kinda shot out of bed and felt like I just had this unsettled feeling. I need to rearrange my day. And so as a result, I had reached out to a couple of the people that I had a breakfast meeting with. We're gonna do business as usual, and I had a pretty full schedule that day. But this breakfast meeting was early, as 8:30, relatively early, and I just wanted to push that meeting off till later in the day so I could stack my meetings one on top of the other and not have a lot of downtime. I was no longer in the city, but living in Connecticut, so it was a commute for me, and so I'm like, "I'm just gonna make this change." And, it was just an overwhelming feeling that I had that I need to do this, and so I did it, and obviously, a few hours later, I was actually driving through a car wash, and I'm hearing this on the local radio
Yeah.
station of what was happening, and I couldn't get out of that car wash fast enough, but I was stuck in there, like, going through, till I could get out and race back home, and my phone was blowing up because most people knew that I worked in the city 3, 4 days a week and had meetings like that all the time. So, putting people's hearts and minds at ease, knowing that, "Hey, I was okay, I didn't go in this morning." And, so how did it shape me was your question. It started at really questioning why me, right? There are thousands of people that have a similar story as
Yeah.
I do. But for me, it was not just to go, wipe my brow and go, "Whoa, I really escaped some tragedy there," but it was more, "Why me? Why was I spared, and what am I gonna do with the rest of my time?" And how can I really shape who I am as an
Pretty
individual?
amazing.
And so I have this. I was going to bring it with, and I forgot but I have this hat that I wear that says "Made for More," and it really challenges me every day when I look at that hat. It's sitting up on my dresser. I look at it. It says, "You were made for more." What is the more? And can I define it and go after it and teach and help others to do the same?
Yeah, incredible. Um, must have made you feel so grateful moving forward. And I'd like to think there's an element of luck involved, but I like to believe in what's called synchronization. It's the world being in sync and you realizing that morning that you're not supposed to be there. And that means you can go out and follow your dreams and essentially come to us today offering professional
Yeah,
coaching
I
advice.
like that. I often have called it in the past and still do to this day as that was not my divine appointment that day. And, um, and I'm thankful for it. And so I need to honor that by being a better person, um, working on myself daily, always opportunity for improvement and growth and to challenge myself. And yes, it's exciting that, um, there's opportunity for more growth, more learning, right? I've written 4 books. Those books never would have been written had I not taken the time to do that and share my life's experience, both in business and in relationships.
Yeah,
And
of course.
I'm blessed to have a wonderful partner. My wife has been with me the entire time, and at the time I didn't have 5 kids, but now I do. So there's tremendous blessing that comes out of
100%.
surviving or avoiding, I should say, that day. I'm not a survivor. I was an avoider, if you will, because I didn't walk out of the building. I don't want to take away from those that truly survived that
It's an
event.
it's an incredible moment that you must reflect on a lot. And I can imagine it wasn't just an immediate change, it's been a gradual change over the years as you've looked back. But speaking of your books, you wrote your first book, The Phoenix Within, about transformation through adversity. Was writing that book the transformation, or did something have to break first?
I it's it's evolved out of as I mentioned previously, I do a lot of journaling. I've been journaling for
Yeah.
years. So I have all kinds of notes and sketches and thoughts and ideas and scribbles that I would look back on. And so the transformation really evolved from one of my kids who was going through an illness and
Yeah.
we couldn't figure it out. And we went through the best doctors, the best physicians to see what was going on with her. And then we finally went a different route, and that was a natural path approach, and where we found out what was going on with her. And while the what would be the traditional route of was highly medicated, prescribed from varying types of prescriptions and drugs, to eliminating all of that and introducing natural supplementation. And she was like a wilted flower within a few days, just became herself again. She went from being losing a ton of weight, just being weak and feeble, and we couldn't figure it out, and it was affecting her up here. And we figured out what was wrong in minutes. This natural path did, and really, I think, saved her life.
Wow.
And as a result of that, in that process, I had gained a lot of weight. Um, and because of the stress, quite frankly, of the people that I lost at 9/11, and just keeping that to myself, internalizing it, I started packing on the pounds. And I said, well, I need to model better behavior. I need to have my own personal transformation. I need to change my diet, change my ways. I need to be completely a 3, 4 dimensional person that if I'm great in relationships and great in business, but I don't look that on the outside and certainly not feeling it on the inside, then I'm not really an honest picture of what it means to be
Yeah, yeah.
fully transformed. So that's what began taking the notes about what does transformation look like, that phoenix within, that we have it within us. The tools are there to make the change. Now it's the commitment, the execution, and the follow through, and then embrace the transformation. That's part of your story, part of your journey. There's no bad in it. It's what shaped you today. We can all look back and say, gee, if I had done that differently, but I have no regrets
Yeah, of course.
because everything I've done even the bad decisions have shaped me to
Learning
be.
curves.
Yeah, it's a learning process to be the person that I am today,
Yeah.
and I'm far from perfect, but I recognize that I can get better and I can do better, and as long as people give me the grace when I need it, I will continue to strive to get better.
And look, sometimes you've got to go down to come back up. I've
Yeah,
been through similar journeys myself, and I'm a firm believer in. That sounds very basic, but when you're looking good, you're feeling good, and when you're feeling good, you get good results. It's a natural process, but you can't expect to be feeling good all the time. You've got to sucker up those moments, those dark moments, those down moments. Like not every day is going to be a 10 out of 10.
mm,
But it's about how you bounce back from it. So it's just an amazing roadmap and journey that you've been on, having been through something so tragic and avoider, as you, I think that's what the term you used. You're a avoider that day,
yeah.
and then hitting bottom and then coming back up to the top to be the man that I'm meeting here today. It's a fascinating story. So I want to dive into the business a bit. What's the
Mhm.
bigger mission behind the phrase intentional redesign of passion and purpose? Where did that framing come from?
So, I think it all evolved out of the things we were just talking about. It's unless we decide, right? Decide means we've gotta cut off the things that aren't serving us and to do the things that will serve us, right? Serve us in business, serve us in our
Yeah,
relationships, serve us in our health. So there's a cutting away, and you have to be intentional about that. So you have to cast a vision that is bigger than yourself. You may never achieve that vision, but it's something that your head is up and you're looking forward saying, this is where I'm going. And there's going to be bumps and peaks and valleys along the way. But if I'm intentional about what I need to do to get there, and I have laid out the appropriate
nice.
strategy
Yeah,
in all the core areas of my life, I will eventually get pretty close to that vision, if you will. So being intentional, and my goal is to really help people understand how they can be intentional, and how to frame that up through just really breaking themselves down, breaking down everything that they're doing in any given day or week or moment, and saying, is what I'm doing intentional, or am I just kind of floating through each day
yeah.
and each moment? But do I have a purpose of what I'm doing
You can
each
apply
and every
that
day?
to so much. I feel it's any sort of task that you're doing. Have you ever read Atomic Habits?
Yes.
The book is where you make a small change to a small task, and then you do it incrementally across lots of different tasks, and then you gradually change. I think there's an element of redesign that could be applied there to atomic habits being applied to the intentional redesign, because often, sometimes people are floating. They think they're in a job that they should be in. They're going about their day to day, but it's like, actually, why are you doing this? What is the outcome here?
Mhm.
Am I along the right lines with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you hit a key thing there, the why. Why am
Yeah,
I doing it? Oftentimes people can be very good at what they do, but, the mechanics of it, the day in and the day out, the operational
yeah,
aspect of it. But if they don't have an underlying why they're doing it, um, they're missing out on a tremendous opportunity to either shift and move in a different direction, or to stay where they're at, but to be far better than, even though they're good at the mechanics of the
yeah.
day-to-day job or task.
So, what do you consider to date your greatest successes for so far? And not in terms of money, but in terms of impact on a client?
I think right now, the way I look at that, and I ask myself that every day, when I go into the day, and, I ask myself, and I pray, and I say, give me a divine appointment. Who can I pour into today to be an impact on their life? Because, maybe they're going through something I don't know. Let's cross paths with people like that. Be in tune with what is going on around you. So whether that's in business or walking through, the market as you're doing your shopping. So I think my greatest accomplishment is really sitting back and giving people the space to speak freely with zero judgment, to just kinda let it all out. And then I can, much like we're doing now, and then I can
Yeah.
take all that information and really start to chunk it out and frame it up for them so that they can see sort of how they're approaching life and where there's opportunity for improvement and balance and change. I think of a gentleman I'm working with right now. He's got two things going on. He's got his day job. He's in the tech space,
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
but he's very passionate about something else. And the business that he's entering into, I think he's going to do great at it. He's got the disposable income right now to help build that business. It's gonna generate some real great passive income, but the one thing that he was missing, which really ignited him to really now take it to the next level, was why he was doing it. He hadn't explored that, and so unpacking that with him was a fun process to see his face light up when it just clicked. He had that aha breakthrough
Yeah,
moment,
yeah.
and everything changed from there. And then now, because he's thinking that way, new relationships or partnerships in regards to his opportunity to build this business um, are coming together sooner than later. But what was interesting, and he just shared this with me last night, is that he's taken that approach now with his sort of 9 to 5 gig. Because what I tried to teach him was what you're doing from 9 to 5 is the conduit to build your vision, to build your legacy.
Oh, yeah.
So don't throw that under the bus. Use that. Hey, this is your springboard. This is your
Use
excel
leverage.
here.
Use the experience.
Use the experience, use the money, and now that business is thriving. He just landed 2 big deals he was telling me about
Right.
that will generate some significant income for him from a commission standpoint, with a couple new contracts that, it came out of nowhere. But I think it was because his focus shifted. He's more in tune with different things that are going on around him. And I think truly where your attention goes, um, you know, and money flows, it goes both ways, right? And so if you get intentional about those things, things start to open up for you. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, of course. And not everyone's fortunate enough to have the side business. Well, not the firm business supporting the side business. Like similar situation to myself, really, having gone full time with 1760.
Mhm.
I used to have a comfortable basic salary, and then suddenly it's gone. Um, you mentioned before on our last call that you started and stopped the coaching business a few times. What's different this time? What's made you finally commit to making it work?
I think at this stage of the game in my career, yeah, I would literally, it's interesting. I was thinking about that this morning, and why
Yeah,
the last thing I was doing kind of came to an abrupt halt, even though we were doing great things. Um, bottom line savings, top line growth, improving operations, incorporating operational excellence, reshaping all these wonderful things that I love to work on and talk about and work with people on. But the organization I was with lacked the vision, lacked the um, ability to invest in themselves,
yeah,
and really sat back on resting on their laurels, if you will, because they had been a pioneer in the particular space I was working in. And I couldn't settle for that. I wasn't there to sit back and collect a check until retirement. I can't ever see myself retiring. I really had a grander vision for this organization and reshaping it and taking it to the next level. And so what I found was, you know, I'm at that point in my age where companies may see me as sort of at the tail end, and I'm just looking for a place to hang out and kind of finish the ride. And that's just not me. So
yeah,
if not given the opportunity for them to engage, learn, learn from each other and see what I can do regardless of my chronological age that I've got so much more to offer. So I found that I'm just going to kind of rebrand, relaunch this coaching business and really be focusing on human centric and teach people that no matter what you do, we're in the business of mankind. I don't care what the product is. It's about, you know, garnishing attention and serving people, whether it's software, another type of product, a contract. At the end of the day, people um, will benefit or not benefit from that.
Yeah.
And if I can help individuals, small business owners, startups create the necessary frameworks that can garner attention in the marketplace to go from obscurity to notoriety and get them excited about that. And what's it going to take? Then to me, that's more fulfilling because, as I'm
100%.
prospecting and talking to people, it changes daily. And that keeps me fresh because I've got to do some research, learn about a new industry or a new product or a new type of individual I might be working with.
So look, coming from a similar organization in terms of helping people, it's incredibly fulfilling. And it almost makes you work twice as hard when it's not someone else's dream, it's your dream, as I mentioned before. And it gives you way more purpose waking up and thinking I can actually impact someone's not only their day, I can impact someone's livelihood, essentially.
Mm.
Um, and it's incredibly fulfilling.
It's super fulfilling. And I think the important thing, which I've learned now, is my father used to call this, before smartphones and computers. He had a file he called his "My I Love You" file, and he still has it to this day. He's going to be 86 this year,
Wow.
and it's letters or notes he took about situations where he did such a great job for somebody. They wrote him a beautiful letter. It's something that we don't do anymore. Um, and or he took notes on a situation that he was personally satisfied, gratified, and wanted to mark the occasion and document it. So as you look back, it's like, wow, I had an impact here and I had an impact there and I had an impact with, different organizations. So what I try to do is in my journaling is to just capture that moment
Yeah.
so that I can reflect on it and develop it so I can bring it to the next person.
Okay, incredible. I think more people can just start doing this. What did you say it was called? An I love you box?
Yes, he called it his "I love you" file, yeah.
I love you file.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the listeners, can you walk me through your business today? What's the core offer? Is it primarily the 12-week Purpose Clarity Accelerator, or are there other formats?
There are definitely other formats. I think that's just the initial one to kinda put
Okay.
out there to say, "Hey, here, in a box, here's the initial offer," and within it, there are three different offers,
Yeah.
3 different price points. It's really based upon time and commitment on my end, right? And what they're looking for. So, so there's like a really high ticket one, which is really, roll up our sleeves. We're spending a lot of time together. There's sort of a mid range, and then there's sort of the starter. I'm
Like,
not sure. I'm looking for coaching or direction, but let's have a few meetings together. Let's see what this starts to shape up to be. And wow, I'm really getting great results. Let's bump it up to level two, if you will. So, but by and large, the offer is really, in a nutshell, is helping people discover. I like to tell people, are you happy where you're at to a degree? You know, why did you go to work there? Were you in love with the opportunity when you started there? And when did you fall out of love? If I can get you back to falling back in love with the work that you do and the place that you do it in, would that be a benefit to you? And if you're in love with what you're doing, do you think you could do it better? Do you think you could
yeah,
drive more revenue for or income for yourself or more revenue for the organization? So it's getting people to fall back in love with who they are, what they bring to the conversation, and then start thinking about their passions and their purpose. And what we talked about moments ago, that why. A lot of people have never asked themselves, why am I doing what I'm doing? And you have to sit with that question and just keep peeling it back, peeling it back. It's a hard question to answer
Absolutely.
because on the surface, it's just, well, I'm doing this because I got to make some money because I got to pay the bills because I got, vet bills and doctor bills and tuitions. But yeah, no, those are all, um, that's life. But the why is really, what's meaningful about why, what we're doing. It's the thing that puts a smile on your face.
Yeah.
It's the thing that gets you leaning in and saying, I can do this. And if I can't, I'm going to find some people that are going to help me do it because I got to make this happen because, this is what I'm trying to achieve uh, in my made for more, approach to life.
Do you think often people's whys change?
Absolutely. I think as we grow and through life and different experiences, there's a maturity to our why, right? When we're younger, it's full of vim and vigor and ambition about, hey, I'm going to be at the top of my game, the best of the best, and I'm going to be killing it, and I'm going to have a beach house and a ski
Yeah.
house, at my main residence, and all of these things, which are wonderful things to acquire from a materialistic standpoint,
But then it gets deeper.
but it's goes deeper that all those things you can't take them with you, but if you can leave a legacy that goes on in perpetuity, a why that is other people say, "I want to borrow your why and develop it within myself." That
Okay.
would, for me, would be great. That saying, "Hey, Eric had a great why. I'm gonna take his why, and I'm gonna figure out how to apply it to myself and then grow in that," So, it definitely changes over time.
Look, the reason I asked the question is because I straight away, a lot of what we're talking about, I relate it to myself. And I used to have this saying, which I learned from someone else, actually. I borrowed their why and it became my why. And you asked me about 5 years ago, what was my why when I was working in a software selling environment? And I was like, I want to earn money and make commission to see my money as fun coins. So the more I work, the harder I work, the more fun coins I get and the more fun I can go have, go on that holiday, go on that trip, do go to that nice restaurant on the weekend, uh, enjoy fun time with my pals, etc. And then as I've got older and I've started enjoying my alone time a lot more, that why has fundamentally shifted. Specifically, when I started launching 1760, as I get so much more fulfillment out of talking on the podcast and helping people with our AI consulting, and it's just been a huge shift for me. That's why I asked the question because it's very different. How obviously there's an element of fun coins in there, and I think there always will be
Yeah,
for everyone. But it's
sure.
certainly shifted, and I think that's as I've matured as a person, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting, if I look back, my whys have evolved, right? There's a fundamental element that remains the same. I think about my wife, I think about my
Yep.
kids, I think about now my 2 grandkids, and they are part of my why. So, I've gotta remain strong, healthy, fit, physically, mentally, emotionally, and, so that I'm there for them. That's me.
Yeah,
So my why is
your
why I go
family.
to the gym, why I push myself, why I am really stringent with my diet because, I have my transformation, I don't want to be a yo-yo person, where up and down, this, that. It's like, this was the transformation. And now this is where I live.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm only now incrementally getting a little bit better and a little bit better.
Atomic habits. There we go. So
Yeah.
look, I've really enjoyed the discussion today, and I think there's a lot I've learned, and there's a lot I want to talk to you about after after the podcast. But just to close on, what does the next 3 to 5 years look like for Eric Bosniak, coach?
So my goal is to really start scaling up over time with capacity for bringing on the right clients at the right price point, um, to leave a financial legacy as well, right, for my family. And so to do that, I'm working on getting better at defining who I wanna work with. Right now, I'll take every call, every conversation because I love helping people. I
Yeah,
truly I wanna help people. But that can come at a cost, right? And I can't forever, sort of self-fund this operation. I've gotta make some big decisions on how I'm gonna scale and so where I'm working with 2 startups or 3 startups right now that are infantile, 1 in concept, um, 2 in concept, 1 now becoming operational very soon, is I feel like that I can really add value because I can really
yeah,
challenge these people to get better and 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 be a part of that. So I'm looking for opportunities to potentially invest in those types of organizations,
okay,
and really continue to play an integral part in their business, not just a 12-week program, but to be that sounding board over time. And I mean, so that's my plan. I hope that that comes together. I'm certainly making the right strides
yeah.
to move in that direction.
That's amazing. And look, there's a lot of seed stage startups out there that need your help, need the
Yeah.
young guys out there trying to launch something that needs strategic advisor and someone they can lean on. But Eric, this has been fantastic. Your story is awesome. From your moment of avoidance through to the why now, through to where you want to be in 3 to 5 years. And look, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. I appreciate getting to know you, Harry. It's been great.
Amazing. Cheers, Eric.
Cheers. Take care.